Gregor. And right. So good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining today's virtual meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee 3, Regulatory Appeals. This is the first time that we've run a virtual licensing subcommittee by Skype. So we're not doing too bad to say it's the first time that we're into the meeting. Right, before we move to the formal business, for the benefit of people who are joining us online, I'll introduce myself and the committee and the officers who are here today. So, I'm the chair, Councillor Tony Wallace. The other we have 4 councillors on the subcommittee. These are Councillors Martin Johnson, Nick Farmer, and Mrs. Catherine Scott, as well as myself. We are joined by Dave Hollis, the Principal Licensing Officer, who's presenting the report, and with us is Paul Jakes, the Senior Legal Advisor. Is there anybody else who I need to introduce? I don't think so. No, that's fine. So that's everybody who's here, and of course we have the applicant, but I understand that we don't have the objector to the item 7. But we'll deal with that when we get to item 7. Before we move on to the formal agenda items, I'd like to confirm today's meeting procedures. The first item on the agenda is in public, but the second is in private, as it contains exempt information. So what we'll talk about on the agenda is up to item 7, which includes the application, is in public, but item 8, which is to do with appeal against the council's transport policy, that's in private because it deals with personal information. So when we get to the end of the item 7, the public presentation will be closed. Copies of the agenda have been provided and is also available on the council's website. Can I remind colleagues, alongside those participating in today's meeting, to ensure that your microphone is on mute throughout the meeting, unless invited to speak or ask a question, to minimise the potential of background noise disrupting the meeting broadcast. I will invite any colleagues wishing to comment on the report or ask questions to do so at the appropriate times in the meeting. So we now go through the agenda. The item 1 is Chair's announcements. I have no announcements to make. Items 2 is acceptance for apologies. Do we have any apologies? Item 3 is to note any items which the Chair's agreed to add to the agenda on the grounds of urgency, and I've not agreed to add any because there aren't any items to add. Item 5, members' declaration of interest. Do any member wish to make a declaration of interest? So I'll take that silence as meaning that no member has a declaration of interest, but if any member does, thank you, Nick. Nick said that he hasn't. So if any member does, please let me know during the meeting, and Martin as well, thank you. And I don't have any declaration as well. So we move on to item 6, which is the application for the renewal of a sex establishment licence at Utopia, Unit 2, Savile Road Precinct, Savile Road, Castleford. And this is on pages 3 to 11 on your agenda. So I hand over to David Hollis for this to make the presentation.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, an application to renew a sex establishment licence at Utopia, Savile Road, Castleford was submitted on 15th of July 2020 by David and Michaela Andrews. An objection to the renewal has been made and the application must now be determined by committee. The objector has not attended the hearing and has not consented to the name and address being released, hence that's why they're down as anonymous at the moment. A copy of the application and the objection are in the agenda pack, as the Chair says, between pages, I think it's 6 and 11. That's the matter before you this morning.
Thank you for that, David. So, Paul, do we now have a presentation from the applicant?
Yes, Chair, if you invite Mr Andrews to further his application.
Thank you. So, Mr Andrews, can you address the committee to explain about your application?
Yeah, can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right, excellent. I don't know if you got a copy of an email that I sent to Dave Hollis on Tuesday the 1st of September. Did anybody get a copy of that?
Yeah, can I ask about that? I've seen it. As any other committee members seen it? So, they're just informing me now, Mr Andrews, whether they've seen it or not.
No problem.
No. Right. The message I've got is that there's only one other councillor on the committee seen it and two haven't. This is because we're having to arrange members to come to the meeting. So Mr Andrews, two of the committee have not seen your email.
Right. Well, I've got a copy of the email which I'll run through. It's quite in depth, but it was quite important because it showed pictures for anybody who's on the committee who's not familiar with the location. So obviously that's paramount. I'll run through it anyway. What I've put on here is, for those unfamiliar with the locality of our store, as can be seen from the attached pictures, it is situated in an industrial estate comprising of 8 units in total, 5 of which are occupied by trade bathrooms. The council deemed the location to be suitable when we first applied at this location 8 years ago. There is only one access route to the store. It's not a thoroughfare to anywhere else, any residential location. The objector stated that we're in an unsuitable location, and whilst we are adjacent to any such as some residential properties, there's no way that we can be considered to be in a residential location. The existing properties on Savile Road are closer to our store, and always have been, obviously. And in the 8 years that we've been open in this location, we've not received any objections from local residents. To actually physically get to our front door, you've got to walk at least 50 yards from a main road. The objector raised concerns about house prices. I can tell you now the fears without foundation or evidence. I had a quick search on Rightmove and it reveals that the house prices on Savile Road have increased by over... Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, the house prices have increased by over 20% in the last year, and of 34 properties listed for sale on Navigation Point at the start of 2020, 17 are either sold or being reserved, which is well above the national average considering the situation we're in with COVID. The other thing to bear in mind, all the purchasers of properties on Navigation Point bought those properties with our store already firmly established in the area for a number of years. The house prices would have been set full in the knowledge that Navigation Point was adjacent to an industrial estate and a 24-hour service station. Then the objector raised a question about bullying, which obviously is not nice to hear. But that's not something I think that we should be addressing. I think the objector should be addressing that with the school and the bullying question, because that could be part of a much, much bigger picture. Children can be pretty cruel to each other. But as I say, that's not something we've heard of before, and I don't think it's relevant to us. It's more of a school and bully issue. They then raised awkward questions. Our signage stays at Utopia Adult Store. A simple answer to a child would just be to say it's a shop for grown-ups. That's not belittling children. A question and answer like that is how I'd address it if I had a young child. They did suggest removal of signage. Unfortunately, I think this could cause issues with traffic. Anybody who knows Savile Road knows it's a little bit of a rat run, and people do speed down this road quite a lot. And if people are slowing to look for a property without signage, that could cause potential traffic issues. And then to summarise, we've run our business according to licence conditions since we moved to Savile Road. This is the first objection we've ever received. To me, that speaks volumes. You know, it says we're doing something right and we're in the right location. We're an established and respected family-run local business. Myself and my wife run it, and we cater for mainly local people. What's quite funny, actually, is that we have regular customers who live on the Navigation Point, and I'm sure they'd be very disappointed. And I think not renewing our licence would be unfair, to be honest, because we meet the criteria with regard to location, which seems to be the main objection, you know, that the objector brought up. My wife's here, Michaela. I don't know if Michaela, if you want to add anything. No? Michaela's fine. So that is basically what we've done. On the email, there's 3 photographs which clearly show our unit at the bottom of an industrial estate. And then the main road is all industrial units on one side of the road with terrace properties on the other. The other thing to add is that, I don't know if I said it, Navigation Point, none of the properties overlook us. They're all at the back of the units. There's no signage on the back of the unit. And also, yeah, there's a huge metal fence at the back of it, and a wall. And also the main entrance is on Cinder Lane, which is a good 500 yards away from the shop, which Cinder Lane is actually on Metley Road. It's not even on Savile Road. And that summarises it, really. So it's over to you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. Thank you for that. Yes, I'll ask the members of the committee now if they've got any
questions
and any questions for you. So,
no problem.
Does any? I've got a request from Councillor Farmer for a question.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. A lot of the question, well, quite a few of the questions I wanted to ask have actually been answered. I'm just looking at the map, Mr. Andrews. Yeah. Is there a zebra crossing anywhere on that A6032 where residents can get across to that? The young kids, I find it quite unbelievable. Somebody's objecting to it when they say that children should be crossed there. It seems to me, I don't know the Casford area, so I presume that is a main road with no zebra crossings onto your units, is it?
The crossings on the road at all. To be honest, it's a bit of a rat run. It's something that council have looked at for years, and it's always had a traffic problem on that road. But there are reservation bollards, but not an actual crossing on that road at all.
Yeah, and I presume your signages are going both ways on the A6032, are they?
Yes.
Right. So they tend to be coming from the right-hand side. They have to go around the roundabout and come back down there, don't they?
No, it's a two-way road.
Yeah, it's a two-way road, but can you cross straight away across there? If you see a sign on the A6032, do you have to go around the roundabout to come back over it?
No, no, it's a single carriageway road. No, you can cross straight across and turn right. Yeah.
And sorry. That's fine, is that? Yeah. Over the last 8 years, has there been any problems with the police? Nothing like that?
Nothing at all. No, nothing whatsoever.
Right, thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews.
Seeing as you both signed the application, if Michaela wants to make any wants to come in, that's fine with me as Chair. I've got some questions from Councillor Johnson now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of questions for the applicant and just one for David. I'm just wondering, Mr. Andrews, what's numbers of footfall compared to online sales? Is it people all the time, or is it just a very few footfall clients you have?
Footfall.
More footfall. We don't do any online
It's only a little
sales.
bit, but it's more footfall.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably what, 2% online, 98% footfall. But if you're asking how many customers per day, it's hard to judge. It's not huge amounts, unfortunately, because retail, as you know, is not in a great place at the minute in the UK. What would you say, estimate of a week per day? 5-6 people per day, something like that?
No, probably. About 12.
Yeah,
per day.
10 to 12 max per day is probably the footfall, and it's mainly regular clientele, to be honest.
Okay, thank you for that. And you say you've been there 8 years, and you've had no problems with penalties.
Absolutely none. In the trade bathroom raised a concern. Because this has come police the last 8 years have actually extended the court, and we don't have any effect on. There's this misconception that you open an adult store and something's going to go badly wrong, but it doesn't. It hasn't affected any business. House prices haven't been affected at all. So yeah, I can allay those fears for you.
Thank you. And just one question for David. Have you ever received, in the time they've had the licence, David, any reports from the public or from the police about issues and any bullying regarding the school?
None whatsoever, Councillor.
Thank you, David. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question. And we also have questions from Councillor Mrs. Scott. Catherine.
Morning. Can you just tell me, you mentioned Cinder Lane. Do you access your property from Savile Road or Cinder Lane?
We access from Savile Road.
So what is it about Cinder Lane that you mentioned?
That's the main entrance to Navigation Point. There are 2 entrances into Navigation Point as a development, and the main one is down Cinder Lane, which when people are saying about it's an unsuitable location, you don't even come by our property to enter into the property unless you went into the other entrance, which I don't think that's widely used, to be honest with you. I think Cinder Lane seems to be the main road in.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Can you just ask? Can I just ask, when you've said you've had no complaints, has anybody been to see you since moving into Navigation Point about any bullying or anything else?
Nothing at all. It's the first time we've heard. I mean, things like that, there tend to be children teasing each other and things like that, and that might be part of a bigger picture. But if somebody had come and knocked on our door and asked us, we'd have certainly sat down with them and tried to sort it out. But no, it's completely new to us. We've never heard anything like that at all.
Can I just ask another question? The signage that you have, because I live in Castleford, the signage that you've got, it is a big sign. How long has that big sign been in place?
5 years.
5 years, maybe, yeah, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. I just have a few comments and questions to go with it. So you're located on Savile Road.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a Castleford councillor. You're actually located in my ward.
Right, you'll know then.
Yeah. We have traffic problems at the end of the road where Riverside Surgery is because of the parking of the cars, which we looked at, and also about turning right off at the other end. But where you're located, you're on a small industrial estate that's just located off the road at Savile Road. You're not facing any houses. You're at the back. It's only a small industrial estate, but you are at the back of it. Can I just ask? As far as I can see, there are actually lots of industrial units next door to each other. So there's two ways in. Can people only get to your establishment by going through one of the two? If they go through the other one, the one what's to the left as you come from the town centre, is that separate units? They can't get through to yours from there unless they come out again and in the other entrance. Is that right?
No, there's no access. There's only access down one of those. There's a metal fence runs down the middle between Bedworld and Trade Bathrooms. You actually enter the entry for Trade Bathrooms, which is obviously a massive building in which I think we've got 5 units now. That's the only entry and exit. It's a dead end. There's nothing down there. You can't use it as a cut through to get to anywhere. So, if you walk past Trade Bathroom, you basically come into our store. But the one that runs down the side of Bedworld, you can't access the property at all from there. No problem. Am I still connected to you, Tony?
Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that. I had a double click and it muted my microphone.
It's all right, it's fine. Yeah, you just worry you've lost connection, don't you, on this?
Yeah. It's unfortunate. I just had key bounce.
Get my answer
Yeah,
there.
you're right. You were about connection. Thank you for reminding me. The question I was asking about, I was just saying that we take seriously about the safeguarding of children, and so I was just wondering if you had any more comments about it, saying that what they're saying about children, especially as who are too young to know. Again, I think you answered it partly, but again, would you say that children, because there are a lot of houses about there, would you say that they would notice your facility and it would cause problems both for the children and for the parents in have to explain things to the children?
I think the notice the signage, obviously, any sign will be noticed no matter what it said on it, but I mean, there are no obscene words or anything like that. It just basically says Utopia Adult Store. Now, if it was my child and I was trying to explain it, I would literally say it's a shop for grown-ups, and which sounds quite condescending between adults, but to a 6 to 8 year old child, that should be a sufficient answer. I mean, if the crux of the matter is the signage, I can change that to Utopia. We don't have a problem with that and remove adult store. But we've never had any problems with any other residents saying about it or anything like that. I can imagine a curious child saying, "What's that, Daddy?" or "What's that, Mummy?" And that would be my answer, which I said between adults sounds a little bit, that you not right, but to a small child, to me it's a good answer to say it's a shop for grown-ups, and then you've explained enough then. But yeah, there'll always be curious minds. As I say, if it's an issue, we can remove the adult store from the Utopia sign at the end of the unit. The signs on the unit itself, that's a good 50 yards, at least 50 yards from the main road, and it's not as distinguishable, I would say, if you're walking past at a reasonable walking speed or driving speed. But yeah, that's something we would consider not a problem if that was an issue. But Yeah, that's my answer really on that one.
Thank you for that, Chair. Obviously, there are. Sorry, thank you for that, Mr. Andrews. Obviously, there are conditions for sex assessment. I can see you are fulfilling those conditions. I just wanted, seeing as it were raised, I wanted your comments about it.
Yeah, sure.
I now have two councillors who want to come back with some questions, starting with Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. It's a question for David, Chair. We're told that enforcement officers visit places like this yearly or whenever. Have you ever had any things reported back from the enforcement that they're not complying with anything, David?
No, I haven't. There is a renewal inspection made every year just before the licence is generally approved, and we've had nothing back.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. And I also have a question, another question from Councillor Mrs. Scott. Catherine.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Andrews has already mentioned it, actually. The signage. It is a large sign that's outside, and I think it would be beneficial if it was made slightly smaller and probably change the wording. And if you're in agreement with that, I think that would be really good. I'm just concerned that the objector's not here to be able to ask her or him any questions. But the signage is really big, from what I can remember. And if you're willing to change that, that would be good.
Yeah, if that's an issue that's been raised and it allays anybody's fears, we can just change that. So you said basically read Utopia. Utopia store or something like that. Yeah, we can take the adult section out of it. That's not a problem if that's the offending word.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Andrews. We will, after this session, we then go into a private session where we discuss what's been said and come to our agreement. So I think if the other members of the committee are okay with that, that's something what we need to do. Are there any more questions?
From me.
Okay. Councillor Farmer has a question.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Mr. Andrews, you've obviously had planning permission for the signage, haven't you?
I don't honestly know, to be honest with you. I didn't know we had to, because I think everybody else has got signs on the unit at the end there. If you look, you've got beds and sofas on the thing, a unit to let sign on the other one. Trade bathrooms have got a huge illuminated sign.
We got permission from, the units.
Yeah, we got permission from the landlord of the units. Just said, is it okay if we put a sign up there? And he goes, yeah, everybody else has got a sign up, so that's what we did.
Yeah.
Just a query, because Councillor Scott's mentioned it's quite a large sign. I just wondered if you needed planning permission for that.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know on that one. Councillor. I mean, like I say, if the sign's an issue, we can make it much smaller. There's no problem on that. I mean, the reason we did that is obviously because if you're coming down that main road, I don't know if you know Savile Road. It is.
No, I don't know, but yeah.
Right, it's a busy road. It's a bit of a rat run, and it's just that obviously it catches people's eye. Oh, that's where it is. Because if you put the postcode in, unfortunately, you end up at the Crimea Tavern, which is right at the end of the road, so it's not even close to where we are. So that was the reason we had to put a sign on the main road, just so we can get people flying past us all the time.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem making that smaller or whatever. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Are there any more questions? So we've come to the end of our questions. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
So I'll just go back to we haven't got the applicant, so at this point we would have brought in the applicant. Sorry, not the applicant, the objector.
Yeah.
Objector. So I think I'll now, and then
Yeah.
we just go and discuss what our decision is.
Right, and what happens with regard to your decision? How do you inform me of that?
And just say it's probably through David. David, would you be the one who informs the applicant of our decision?
I'm not sure how this works, Chair. Traditionally, we've invited the applicant back in at the end of the deliberation to inform them.
We can do that. We can, if that's okay technically. Yeah, that's fine technically. Yeah, that's fine. So we go into a session to discuss this, and then we'll invite you back through. Is it through Skype? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You leave the meeting now, the Skype meeting, and then we'll invite you back in to tell you what our decision is.
Right. Would you send an email with a link on that for me?
Yeah, I've been told. What I've told him, Mr. Andrews, is that you'll be moved to the lobby, back to the lobby, and then you'll be brought in again when we need to.
Right. So just stay connected.
Sorry.
Do I just stay connected on the call?
Yeah, you just stay connected, and I've been told it'll be about 20 minutes to half an hour. So just stay connected, and then we'll bring you back in when we.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
No problem. My end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, and a message being typed. I'm just but to know that. All right, yeah. So, Gregor, can you stop the live streaming now? Right. So, Gregor, has the live streaming been stopped? Okay, thank you. Yeah, because I don't want to. in public. Mr. Andrews, we've had our discussion. As you can see, I gave you an estimate of time, but the discussion wasn't all that long, so we thought we brought you back in. We've decided that the license will be renewed. That's the decision what we've made, and Paul, Mr. Jakes, will notify you of the reasons why we made that decision. But the license is renewed.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, and thank you. Just getting some messages, but yeah. So thank you, Mr. Andrews. It will be emailed to you. So because Mr. Jakes has to work on the wording. So
no problem.
So if you can, your session at the meeting is now ended, and I am going to go into a private session for the other items, so which is only for which is not for the public. So thank you for attending, Mr.
Yeah. Are there any conditions applied, or is it just a normal renewal, or are any conditions been applied?
No. No. Our decision is straightforward. Your application's been renewed. That's it. Mr.
That's
will explain the reasoning for it, but no, it's just been renewed.
That's thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. So I can leave the meeting now. Yeah.
Yeah. Please. Yeah.
Okay. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.
And Gregor, just to make sure that the live, you have to make the declaration and then go out to live session. I'll do the declaration. So item 7 is exclusion of the public, exempt information. So I'll just read out what this is about. That the public and press be excluded from the meeting during consideration of agenda item 8 on the grounds that it's likely to involve the disclosure of exempt information as described in Part 1 of Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 2 as amended. So are all members of the committee in favour of that resolution for the exclusion of the public for the next item? Yeah, right.
If it's okay by you, Chair, I'll leave the meeting at this moment, since you moved on to another item.
Oh, yes, please, yeah.
Okay then. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, likewise, Chair. I'll now leave the meeting. I wouldn't normally be in the committee for such items.
Right, thank you, Paul. Thank you. Okay, I've got a request that we make a break. I agree with that request, seeing as we're on email. So, yeah, I think 5 minutes so it is okay. It might be longer because I've just realised we need the office. We need the officers here, don't we?
Chair, I've mentioned to Karen that I'll link